Hey y'all, welcome in. This is Little Simsie's llama shell. I've done quite a few of her shells every time she's had one since I started my channel, basically. They're always so much fun to do. I love shell challenges in general. I have the EA shell challenge that I've been meaning to do. I just haven't. I don't even know if it's closed, but I still want to do it for fun. And then I'm working on Zephyryn's shell challenge too. I just think they're so fun and they make you do things that you wouldn't normally do, right? Kind of build and make things a little easier on yourself. But with a shell challenge, you don't have that luxury. You have to kind of just go in and see what happens and see what you can do. And sometimes it's a little crazy and you just live into the crazy. Roofing tends to be some of the hardest parts of shell challenges, especially when they're crazy, like a llama-shaped shell. So I definitely played around with this a lot. It's just one floor. It does have a basement, but when there's multi-level flooring, you can kind of, oh, this is going to be a balcony. This will just be like a platform. But with this, you really had to go in there and get everything covered and make it look presentable. At this point, I have the roofing pretty much as is. Things change little by little. I end up pulling the roof out, making more of an overhang for this little porch area that I do. But I think it's a really pretty entrance. Now, the thing with this build is it ends up having two entrances because of my plan for it. So I really love this as an entrance and didn't want to give it up. Do another entrance on the left side. I end up making this multifunctional. So if you want to live here, you can. There is a room in the basement that has everything you need, kitchen and all that. Your bathroom is upstairs though. It's available to use as a library, a cafe, and a retail store, which I thought was really fun. It could potentially fit whatever you need it to fit. So this is that second entrance I was talking about. I give it this really pretty cafe feeling, this overhanging porch that you can walk up, have a place to sit. You can even play chess here, or you can come sit down and knit. Now, that's where we go with this little knitting store. That was my first main idea of what I wanted to do. So I really utilize Nifty Knitting in this space, and I thought, what would it look like if you had a knitting store that also potentially teaches knitting and you can sell your creations? So I use Debug and I pull a lot of the Debug Nifty Knitting creations and put them out. So you already basically will have things to sell if that's what you want to use this for. But I also, like I said, I make it a cafe. So we end up getting the espresso machine and the coffee maker and have that counter set up so you can have a cafe. And I put a couple bookcases in here as well so you can have a library. Full disclosure, I totally forgot about the basement. So I had started to plan where the bathroom would be, and then I had to go in and add a staircase for this lovely basement. And I built a little room around it. But basically, this is how you get to your living space. So what that's going to look like is I thought of someone who loves knitting and that's what they do with their livelihood, and they've turned it into a business, and that business is thriving, and they have a little cafe, bookstore, and they have turned their home into their storefront. They renovated and changed the upstairs to cater to that storefront that they want. And then they have a little room that potentially would stay locked so other Sims don't just mosey on down into your bedroom. But they have a nice little closed off room that has a staircase that leads down into their basement apartment. And they have their basement converted into a little apartment for themselves. Here we are just kind of putting things down. I knew we needed a kitchen and that we would also obviously need a bed, a little lounge area. So I really like the way that this ends up turning out. I think it's super cute. So upstairs, this is the bathroom, and it's the only bathroom in the building. I said that this was basically a converted house to storefront and that this person still lives there. So my thought was they would still have a bathtub and a full bath upstairs that they would use personally but it would also be like the store's bathroom. And, you know, if you need to use a bathroom, obviously you could go do that in the bathroom upstairs. So that is the only bathroom, and I was fine with that. I was good with it. I didn't feel the need to make like a tiny bathroom downstairs. I felt like it played into this story that I'd kind of created in my head of who this person is and what their place would look like. This felt almost out of my comfort zone, which I think a shell challenge should. But this specifically making like this bookstore, cafe, knitting store, I felt like I didn't know what to add. You know what I mean? So I just tried to make sure I used all the Nifty Knitting stuff. And it really does come together. Once you start getting things down, it makes a little more sense. I cluttered but didn't clutter, if you know what I mean. Like, tried to make sure that there was lots of knitting stuff everywhere, but that it was still an open space, so that way you're coming in here and you're working on your knitting, or you're reading books or buying books and drinking coffee, whatever that looks like, that there would be space to do it and your sim could get through here and do what they need to do. So I did get the Party Essential kit. So I do end up using the little record player table in the cafe behind the counter, so you can play music, and I thought that was really fun and kind of a special little detail. I know not everyone's gonna have the kit, they won't want to buy it, they don't, whatever your opinion may be on it, but for me, I liked it and I wanted to get it, so I did. I got both the kits because I just really liked them. I'm a little Simsy stan. I watched her stream that day to kind of see all the different things from both kits, and for me, it felt good enough to where I felt comfortable to spend the $5 and get the kit. But that is the only place that I use that kit in this build. So if this is something you want to download for yourself, that would be the only thing that's missing, right? If you don't have the Party Essentials kit, it's right there in that back corner, easily replaced with some other shelving unit. Or if you have the Modern Luxe kit, you could even go that route and put a little table with that record player. I struggled a little bit on wallpapers for these rooms because I wanted them very fun and colorful to fit with that Nifty Knitting theme. And let me just say, the pastel pop kit like comes in clutch. I kind of do the green and pink wallpapers and kind of mix and match them on different walls. But then it made the bookstore area, the cafe area, feel a little out of touch. So we had to go back in and change the wallpapers in there. And I end up on the little confetti one. It's purple. It's got the blues and the peaches. It has that pastel theme, but it's a little more of a relaxing pastel, right? For the bathroom, Jungle Adventure wallpaper all the way. It's so pretty. That purple and pink swatch matches what I was doing. It had some really pretty tiling. I love it. Then for rugs in this space, I wanted the rugs to kind of be like outlandish and just bright and colorful and mix match and just a really fun moment for this very colorful store. Then I created this little sitting moment, the little seating area in the bookstore. I wanted you to have that space where you could come sit down, read a book, drink your coffee. I used the bean bags from high school years, put some rugs under it, and I just think it's a fun little moment to have that sitting space. So there are 2 computers because, like I said, I wanted to use this as a library space as well. So 2 desks have computers on them, and then they just all have some Nifty Knitting clutter. I even have a couple of cross stitch boxes in there, so your sim can cross stitch as well as knit. And then here I am just putting lots of little clutter around, some debug clutter, getting the Nifty Knitting creations. What's really cool is I have some of them sized down, sized up, all different sizes. You can still sell them as is, which I think is really fun. Just a little something extra, you know, that both these little stores have things for sale already. So if you go in, you're not like starting from scratch. You know, your knitter can get to work and start making things, but it definitely already has some things on display. I love the Nifty Knitting pack. It's so like, I wouldn't say underappreciated because I think a lot of people appreciate it. I absolutely love all the hanging plants. Then I got in here and started adding in like the little Grim Reaper, the bear. I had like missed them apparently. So we definitely make sure we have all these little creations that your sim has on display and ready for sale. And of course, we got to use the mailbox. So I laid out a couple of them and we pick in the end. Seriously, those hanging plants They're so pretty. And then I use like the little mason jars with flowers coming out of them, the Nifty Knitting rug, just trying to make sure that everything was on display, that I used as much as the pack as I could. Over here, I am adding lots of yarn balls, changing up the color, just to have, you know, whatever that looks like. But I felt like the yarn balls were necessary. As for the outside, I definitely wanted to stay kind of colorful. I ended up using this blue siding and some stone. Kind of simple, but still effective in coloring. Keeps it bright without being overly bright. And honestly, the blue looks a little purple, so who knows if it's blue or purple classified. I guess I could figure it out, but I didn't. It wasn't that big of a deal. As for downstairs, I had kind of played around a little more with the Party Essential kit. I had added those backdrops, almost like backsplashes, and it's a really cool vibe. I don't end up keeping it. I end up getting rid of it completely, but I do block off the little kitchen space, and I thought that was really nice and adds a little something. That door frame, that's not the word I'm looking for, but that door frame is from the Industrial Loft kit, and it's so pretty and I love it, and I wish I could use it in more builds because I just think it's gorgeous. I wanted to keep that basic theme of being kind of pastel down here, very soft neutral colors, but maybe scaled back a little bit. You know, your sim who's upstairs in these kind of chaotic spaces all day long working could come downstairs and it's a little more of a chill vibe down here. Very soft pastels as opposed to some of the brighter colors that are upstairs. And then I wouldn't be me without a little bit of clutter, so I do add some pictures to the wall. I try to keep them very neutral and calm in color. I wanted the curtains to fit with the theme and feel handmade, and I really thought these high school years, like crocheted curtains, macrame, felt so on par and so on point and just worked so good. I ended up going in and sizing them down because I had to move the window up so they would fit, and the window was up too far, so I ended up shrinking them, lowering the window. All is well in my world. In this little room, I don't do a whole lot because the main point in that little space behind the door is that it's just your hallway down to the bedroom. And there's really not space for anything. Like you can't put like floor clutter because then you would block off your space. So it gets curtains, pictures, and that's pretty much it. Now we're just going in and adding my favorite, adding lots of plants everywhere where they felt good, right? Because I already have lots of hanging plants and I have some various plants, but I wanted to add more. So here I finally changed it up a little bit. I pulled the roof forward and made the little porch a little bit bigger, and I really like the way it looked. Cut forward a little bit. I'm now cluttering and just doing little odds and ends around the house, things that I had been waiting to do until everything was kind of set where I wanted it, and I was really happy with everything. This little bathroom turned out super cute, and I love when the bathrooms get to be a little bit bigger and you can have a little more clutter in them, because if you haven't seen it, I've been doing a series of tiny career homes, which don't always allot for big bathrooms. Usually they're kind of tiny. So having the room to have a bigger bathroom and get to like have fun in there and clutter and put a shelf in there, I mean, it's beautiful. It's perfect. I love it. Then I thought what would be really cool is to use these little they're like called string ant lights or something. And I sized them up and I just alt placed them, moved them up, and I think that they're so cute and they add a little something extra to the patio area. I do them on both sides. And if you haven't caught it, we have officially moved into the cottage living world in Hinford-on-Bagley. I felt like this world was the best for what this little retail store is. I felt like cottage living was the perfect world for it. It's a little like struggle bus noteworthy that the lighting stinks. It absolutely is terrible. You gotta do what you gotta do. What really stinks is that we don't have those pavers, and so I couldn't match exactly what was happening from the world into my lot. So that definitely changes, and I don't end up even trying to match it. I go a completely different route, and I love what I did, and so you could literally put this build anywhere and it'll just have its own like walkway. It's beautiful. I love it. I'm happy with it. I actually think that this might have been good in Copperdale or even Oh my gosh. I can't think of the high school years is Copperdale. Discover University is can't think of the world. Can't think of the world for Discover University. I take that back. It's Brightchester. I could think of it and I kept thinking Brightchester, but I was like, that's the university. But it's the world of Brightchester. That's why my brain was like, Brightchester. I did look it up because I was like, what in the world? Why couldn't I think of it? It's Brightchester. It's good. It's all good. Yeah. So this build could look really pretty in Brightchester. There isn't a lot that is good though. It would be pretty in that world, but not a good lot. Copperdale could be cute though. All right, now the fun part, landscaping. At first I go a little color crazy and I'm like, let's make it colorful and bright. I end up scaling back and doing just a nice pink and white landscaping, but I for sure go crazy and use everything. And then I scale back a little bit. So here everything is looking very colorful, and while pretty, I just wanted to scale back just a little bit and make it a little more uniform. So here I am kind of changing the colors to pinks. I do leave a purple swatch, but because it's like a purpley pink color, it really works well. I end up using some things that I never use for landscaping, and I think it turns out really pretty. I use like the My Wedding Stories flowers, and I don't ever get a chance to use them. They're a little like too whimsical, but it felt really good for this build that it should be whimsical. Not My Wedding Stories, Romantic Garden. I just think it looks super pretty. I go ahead, add a couple of trees to kind of fill in the lot space. I usually will add things in like swing sets and, you know, XYZ, a grill, but this isn't a typical house. Like I said, this can be a retail spot. It can be a library, a cafe. So I kept the outside kind of minimal. It's all inside, right? I went in with terrain paint just because I wanted so badly to match what they have like coming up to the lot and then ending at the edge, which I wish that we had that brick. And if we did, I wish that they didn't have the ones on the half tile because we obviously can't do that, but it's okay. So I end up going here with terrain paint. I don't have it recorded, but when I was playtesting, because this is playtested, I go ahead and change it completely and put some tile down and just make it more what I would want for this, because this is what I want. I don't want terrain paint for this build. I want beautiful tile. I want beautiful for rent garden stones because they're gorgeous and they have like that beautiful like white and light blue swatch. And so that's what we do. Let's go ahead, jump into these screenshots so you can see the finished build. This was Little Simsy's Llama Shell Challenge. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you can keep coming back for more. If you want this build for yourself, you can definitely have it. My EA ID is katxthrash. It's actually already on the gallery, ready and waiting for you. And waiting for little Simsy. Not that she'll ever get the chance to look at it, but you know, never know. I hope you have a great night wherever you are. Bye, y'all.